The Metropolitan Tabernacle of Central London was a representative model of a megachurch in its day back in 1861. When asked how he viewed the growth of his congregation, Charles Spurgeon replied, "The only multiplication of the Church of God that is to be desired is that which God sends." How then are we to view our approach in evangelism as the church? Without getting carried away with this issue of numbers, we follow Jordan as he gives us his input about how he views how various types of churches reach out to people such as himself. Jordan has not entered a church in several years, practically since his childhood. Like with most people in his generation, Jordan does not align with the modernist take that his parents and his grandparents had within the church. The man coming up with the white cap? That's Jordan. No, not the man with the tie. The man coming in with the white t-shirt and black jacket. For our experiment, we will be taking Jordan to 3 unique churches, each different from one another in size, in worship style, and sermon writing. Truly, this will be a unique experience, considering that Jordan has no idea what to suspect in each church within the next 3 weeks. This here will be considered your, slowly dying, aging church. Practically your grandmother's church. But it's here, and it's present, and it's definitely alive. Alive not necessarily with the numbers, but alive within its attitude and hope that it will indeed inspire generations to come. It will be interesting to see how Jordan will sit through this one service. Through blood, sweat, and tears, this church was made back in 1961. A year in which the people of Orangeville, California were able to gather together and worship together. The heartbeat of this church is its response to wanting to help the community at need, as it sees its responsibility not necessarily for itself, but for others on the outside.
And the music, the people, I would say that at Oak Avenue I was overwhelmed by the friendliness and the hospitality I received by the people at the church. It was probably one of the most friendly places I've ever been. I can't tell you how many people came up and introduced themselves to me and encouraged me to come back, and they were just incredibly receptive to me, even though I was a stranger, and really had probably very little in common with any of them. Even my parents, and my age is vastly different. The music was arcane. It was old people music. It didn't appeal to me at all. The sermon I liked because it was short, it was effective, it was to the point, and he didn't overwhelm the audience or the church body with redundancy or too much information. It was a very, very focused sermon, and I liked that.
That's what the ranger was.
Oh,
The next church up for observation is our suburban megalith. Some of you may recognize the exterior of this building. Indeed, this is in Roseville, California. As beautiful as this church may look, and the diversity of the people that come together of all walks of life, there's something about it that just seems so daunting in size. But yet maybe that in of itself is something to be glorified. As the topical sermon initiates and the worship beckons people to draw their hearts near to God, Jordan cannot help but feel a sense of passion and just overall unease at the awe in which people worship and praise. Indeed, this church is a very sensational church. Let's see how Jordan sees it now.
At Bayside, like I said, the church body was, I felt kind of overwhelmed by how large it was. If I was at a concert or a music festival, that size of crowd would not overwhelm me. But the fact that everyone's there for this common reason, and yet the crowd size is so large, I had a hard time sort of accepting that. I don't know if that makes any sense, but the music I thought was actually pretty good. I mean, it's put on by a full band, so not surprisingly, it was really, really good. I have to admit the music sort of stirred me emotionally, and I think that's a big part of that church, is really trying to invoke, these emotional responses to God and Jesus. And the church message, like I said, I felt like it was a pep talk from a coach. I didn't feel like it was really a sermon as much as it was a, come on guys, let's get out there, let's win this one. In fact, the pastor even mentioned to the speaker, go get them. And that's something I would expect a coach to say, So it didn't appeal to me.
Our last church for inspection is Origin Church, based in Rockland, California. Indeed, Jordan has never heard of a church that actually met in a coffee shop, so this is quite the unorthodox experience for him. As the people are awakened by the espresso and the sound of the acoustic guitars, you cannot help but get a sense of spirituality meets life, meets truth, come together all in one within community and accountability. Unlike the other two churches that we had visited earlier, Origin Church is a very exegetical church, meaning that our approach to scripture and sermon writing is at a very scholarly level. I'm not saying that the other churches are not scholarly, but just saying that our church can have very, very lengthy and sometimes very boring sermons that are empowering. It looks like the sermon got to him.
At Origin, I found the church body to be really, focused on what they're doing. I didn't meet anyone at Origin, which I thought was interesting, because at both other churches I did meet several people. So that was interesting that I didn't meet anyone. I found the demographic of Origin to be, I liked the fact that there are old and young both there, gathered together for a common cause. That impresses me. It appeals to me that a church body could overcome the differences that are found between the old and the young for the cause that they have devoted themselves to. The music was nothing too impressive to me. It didn't appeal to me. It didn't invoke the emotional response that Bayside's music did. However, it didn't put me off like Oak Avenue's music did. It wasn't an organ and a piano and hymnal. So it was more relevant to my generation than Oak Avenue was. The message was far too long and unfocused and redundant. I did not like how it got terribly boring, and in fact it got difficult for me even to stay awake during the sermon because it was so long. So if I had to compare all these churches together, and I had to divide my experiences up, into these separate experiences, I would say that my experience was most positive here at Origin, because I find the idea of what they're doing and their philosophies to be the most to be the most representative of what I think Christianity to be, which is to go out into the world and do something for God. If I were to recommend a church to someone, I would recommend Origin. I think it's a small cell of people that are really interested in making an impact, not just here in this community, although I think they are very much interested in making an impact in their community, but they're interested in making an impact on a global scale. And for that reason alone, I find this church the most appealing to me. But I think they need to shorten the length of their sermons.
Who would come in second?
Second, I would have to say Oak Avenue, just because I felt so welcomed by them. I felt so, I can't describe the kindness that they showed. I don't think there's that many places you can go where 40 or 50 strangers will walk up to you and say, "It's so nice to have you here. Please come back. We'd love to have you back. Offer me everything I could possibly want. Food, drinks, friendship." Second would have to be Oak Avenue.
Nice.
After having taken Jordan to the churches in which we took him to, we cannot help but get a sense of not really understanding what God intends of church growth. But one thing's for sure. If we allow Christ, the Christ in which we have committed our lives to completely transform the way in which we view people and outreach to people and teach people, help people, commune with people, we begin to realize that, indeed, God does send the growth, but it's not by our own effort, but by our own submission to his presence in our lives.